Hey guys, Sean here with the Off-Road channel. Now, today we're going to talk about what you do when you put oversized tires on your Wrangler JL. Now, a lot of guys just kind of ride around with the speedometer and the odometer, not counting properly, and they just kind of deal with it and don't really care. And I guess that's an option. But if you're running significantly larger tires, 35s, 37s, 39s, whatever, you really need to adjust your speedometer and your odometer. For one thing, you don't want to have any trouble with the dealership. Now, some dealers are cool, but there are some dealers that are kind of picky about that, and they have the potential to void your warranty if they can prove your odometer's not counting correctly because you put big tires on the Jeep and didn't have it calibrated. You just don't want to deal with that. So, and not to mention if you have the automatic transmission, if your stuff's not calibrated, your shift points are going to be off and all that. So it's a good idea to go ahead and adjust your speedometer and your odometer. Now, there's really three options that you have right now if you have a JL Wrangler. And the first option is you can go to the dealership, you can pay them. Most dealers charge you for an hour labor rate, so you're looking at $100, $110, something like that. And they will calibrate your ECU so that your speedometer and your odometer and everything are where they're supposed to be. The bad thing about that is it's a one-time fee. You get one service out of it. You know, you're not getting a whole bunch of features like you do with a tuner. You're getting that one thing, which is your tire size set in your speedometer and your odometer so that everything is counting properly. And you know, let's say you have a Sport and you put 33-inch tires on it, and then a year goes by and you decide you want 35s. Well, then you have to go back to the dealer and pay them $100 again to do the same thing. And in my experience, some of the dealers have a hard time getting it right. I had a dealer tech once that spent, probably an hour and 2 or 3 road trips. You know, he'd set it and then he'd drive it and then it'd be a little bit off, so he'd come back and set it again. It took him forever to get it, you know, where it was supposed to be. But that's an option, I guess. Another option that you've got, though, is this device called the Tazer JL. And a lot of you guys have probably seen these. It's made by a company called Z Automotive. And of course, the product is made here in America. And I'm going to show you the Tazer JL right now and kind of go over what that's all about. All right, guys, so the Tazer comes in this nice little box made in the USA. That's what I like to see. This box was small enough that they sent it priority mail and it got here pretty quick. And when you open it up, you're going to have 2 pieces for the JL Wrangler. Now, the first piece is the unit itself, which you can see right here, plugged into the OBD port. But the other piece, and it might be kind of hard to see it up in there, is a security bypass module. And what you're going to have to do with that, since these new Wranglers have different security on the ECU, you have to go up in there, just up underneath the dash, over top your left foot. There are 2 plugs up in there, and you have to disconnect those plugs and plug them into the security bypass module that is included with the kit. It's just a little bitty square, and it's got the provisions for it to plug those harnesses into. Now, if you're going to do this, the tabs are on the front facing the firewall, so when you put your fingers up in there to release the wiring harnesses from the factory connections, you want to find the tab on the front facing the firewall and just push on that lightly with your finger and they'll pop right out. Okay, I've seen a lot of guys that have tried to go about it the wrong way. They had trouble getting them out, then they tried to use tools and pry it out. They ended up really messing it up in there, making it obvious that it's been tampered with, which you don't want. Because later on down the road, if you have a warranty claim or something, you don't really want your dealership seeing that that's been tampered with. I'm going to try and get this thing up in here. Oh man, I was really hoping to get it up in there and show you, but I'm going to have to pop this out so I can show you what it looks like, okay? Now the first thing you want to do, this makes it a whole lot easier, is you want to pop off this trim panel right here. All right, so hang on just a second and I'll show you how to do that. So you can most certainly use a plastic trim tool on this, but I have found that it's just as easy if you put your fingers in here. You can pull this right out. See that? It just pops right out, and that way you're pulling straight out on it instead of putting something in the crevice and prying on it, which gives it horizontal force also. I think it's better just to take your fingers and pull it straight out because you've got those plastic tabs right there. You don't want those going side to side because that's how you break them. So just go down through there, pop it loose. Obviously you've got some on the other side as well, and then that whole panel will just pop right off, and that gives you much better access in here. And right here is my module. There it is. That's the module, and you can see the two connectors right there. And you can see the tabs. Now those tabs, like I said, are facing the firewall when they're plugged in to the factory provisions. So just make sure you put your finger on there, press the little tabs in, and then the connectors should just pop right out. Once you get both those wires out, you just plug them into the included bypass module, and then I just kind of tuck it up there out of the way. All right, now once you've done that, then you can put the unit itself into the OBD port. So here's how the Tazer works. Once that's plugged in, I'm gonna go ahead and hop in the Jeep here for a moment. So everything is done through the display on the dash, okay? As you can see, I've got the splash screen changed to the Rubicon splash screen, even though my Jeep is a Sport. One of the many things you can do with the Taser JL. And so all of your menus and everything are going to be done through the dash. So the first thing you have to do is use the arrows on your steering wheel. You have to where the radio information is normally displayed on here, which I think, there it was, number 7, audio. All right, that's the one that you want. You don't have to start the engine, but I'm going to start the engine because it's getting really hot in here. All right, so once you're in the audio screen, then all you're going to do is hold the left arrow, and you're going to press where it says cancel over here on the right side, and you'll notice that it starts to get into the menus. Now this says light show, which is one of the features of the Taser. This is exclusive to the Taser product, and what that does is it starts making your exterior lights flash in cool patterns. It's kind of neat for like car shows, and you know, I do some storm spotting sometimes, so if I'm on the side of the road, I turn that on. There's one light show that's pre-programmed, I think it's number 2, that actually kind of simulates like fire department lights or something. So you know, if I'm parked somewhere, I can use those. They can, I think, turn those on so that you can use them when you're driving, but you have to prove that you're police, CMS, fire, something like that, obviously. But that's the light show is all about. It's just something that's flashy. It doesn't do a whole lot for actually programming the Jeep. Now, all right, I'm back again. We had a quick rain shower there, so I had to retreat for a moment. But basically that's how the Taser works, is it goes through the dash display, which is kind of neat because you always have your tuning ability right here. You don't have to carry a device around with you. You know, I leave mine plugged in all the time because it doesn't actually get in the way. You know, I'm 6'3", so I have long legs, and this thing never gets in my way. So the average guy or girl should be just fine leaving all that plugged in. And then you have your tuning ability right here on your dash display whenever you need it. Now this thing can go through a lot of different menus. You've seen other videos on that. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you know, you can change the threshold for your TPMS sensors, or you can turn them off. You can change for tire sizes, I think all the way up to 39s. So pretty much every tire that the average guy is going to run on the road, you know, you can program for that with a Taser. And there's some other features in there too, like, you know, you can do things with your daytime running lights, and if you have a Sport and you put the transfer case in it from a Rubicon, you can go in here and you can program for that 4-to-1 ratio. You know, there's lots of different things that you can do through the Taser, but that's generally how it works. You know, you've got that bypass module down there, and you've got the other piece that plugs into the OBD port, and then everything goes through the Jeep. So that's one option that you've got, in addition to going to the dealership and paying a whole bunch of money. And there's a third option I'm going to show you, which is similar, and it's made by Superchips. It's called the FlashCal JL. So let's take a look at that one. Looks like we have a thunderstorm in progress again. Man, we've been getting some nice rain. Look how green everything is. Usually in the middle of summer in Kentucky, things are brown and dry. Man, we've actually got some pretty good rain this year. All right, so let's get right to it, guys. So the third option that you've got, if you want to calibrate your Jeep Wrangler JL, is this guy right here. This is made by Superchips, and it's called the FlashCal for the Jeep. Now, they made these for the JK, and so the difference with the JL, once again, is going to be that you have that security bypass module. So the Superchips unit looks a little bit more like a traditional tuner. You know, you've got the cord, and you've got the OBD connection there, and then you've got the handheld portion, which again resembles more of a traditional tuner. And then it looks like down here in the box, just like with the Taser JL, you've got this bypass unit that you have to plug in. Works exactly the same way. You just plug your two connections up under your dash into this, and that bypasses so that you can get into the ECU and do your tuning. And of course, you've got some cool instructions in here, and looks like there's a USB cable down in there for future updates. Now, I don't know for sure, but probably, if I'm guessing, they're going to have some engine and transmission tuning available later on, and I'm guessing that this unit will be updatable so that you can use it as an engine and transmission tuner as well. That's just a guess. I don't know for sure, but that could be one of the potential benefits to this unit, is that later on down the road you might be able to do more with it than just calibrate your speedometer and everything. So let's hook this unit up to the JL and kind of see what the differences are between it and the Taser. All right. Okay, guys, so just like with the Taser, you've got the security bypass module there. You can hear the thunder rolling in the background. Man, it's still storming. Anyway, so you just plug those two connectors in. You can tuck that away up underneath the dash somewhere. And then here is the screen you get once you plug the FlashCal into the OBD port down there. So first thing I'm going to do is turn the ignition on. So there's my accessory position, and then there is the run position. So the first thing you notice, obviously, is that this is all done through the handheld instead of doing it through the dash cluster display like the Taser. Everything is done through this handheld here. So if you like that better, then that's obviously the main difference. So it says press OK to select and turn the ignition on, which we did. We did not start it. We just simply put the JL into the run position. And so we hit OK, and it's loading our vehicle application. Please wait. Okie dokie, no problem. While it's preparing here, I'll tell you, I kind of like the way this thing feels in your hand. It kind of has a solid feel to it. It doesn't feel cheap or flimsy at all. It's got a nice quality feel to it, almost like a smartphone or something. It's establishing communications with the vehicle. All these new Chrysler products, and well, I guess it's not just Chrysler. Pretty much all the manufacturers are doing this now. They're putting all this encryption and security and everything in their vehicles to try and keep people out of them. And so it takes a little longer than it used to for these things to connect and establish a connection where they can get in there and make some changes. But I'm doing this in real time on purpose so that you can see just how long it does take from start to finish. I just now opened this thing up out of the box and plugged it in. So you're riding along with me here to see exactly how this process goes. Hopefully it won't take too much longer. Looks like we're a couple of minutes in already. So we'll just give it another moment here. And here we go. So let's see what these options are showing me. First thing is engine idle. Then you have tire size, which is obviously what we're going to be doing today. You can change the gear ratio, so if you swap out axle gears later, let's say you go to 410 like the Rubicons, or if you want to go even deeper, 456, 488, here's all your options. You can go all the way up to 488. So left arrow to exit and go back out to the screen we were in before. Transfer case low ratio. So if you take the transfer case out of a Rubicon with the 4:1 ratio and put it in your Sport or your Sahara, then you can update the computer for that. Tire pressure. Now this is interesting. I want to see this. I know on the Taser it lets you adjust the threshold. You can run it up and down to wherever you want it to trigger the light on the dash, or you can turn it completely off. I want to see if this FlashCal will allow me to do that, or if it simply has an on-off option. Looks like this is taking a moment also. So it's one thing that I'm noticing here right off the bat is that it's a little bit slower to get through the menus than the Taser. The Taser is pretty much instantaneous. Once you get it married, it takes a few moments to marry it to the vehicle, but once you do that, everything is pretty quick and on the fly. This one is taking a little bit longer. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but interesting. Well, we're learning some things together, so that's good. It's going to make for a long YouTube video unless I trim some stuff out. but maybe this is a good thing, because like I said, you can see real time how this process works. The whole idea of this video is kind of to compare these things, to show you what the options are for calibrating your JL Wrangler once you put your oversized tires and things on there, and to show you how they actually work in the real world, so you can get a feel for them. That's what I'm trying to do, guys, is give you a feel for all of these options. Maybe you can pick the one that you think might work out the best for you. I do not know why this is taking so long. This is starting to get a little bit ridiculous now. Well, to keep this from being a very long video, I think what I'm going to do is pause right here and come back in just a moment when this thing figures out what it's going to do for us. Okay, guys, so hang tight. I'll be back. Well, I'm still sitting here waiting on this screen. It appears to be locked up now. It says this option adjusts the TPS low pressure setting, but it won't do anything. It's just sitting there, and even if I hit the button to try and go back, it won't let me do anything. And when you're in the middle of tuning or programming, however you want to look at it, it's usually not a good idea to turn the vehicle off and start over. So it's a little bit worrisome. I'm going to have to give it a little more time, and if it doesn't do anything, I guess I'll have no choice but to shut everything off. And tire pressure below the what's this? Tire pressure below the TPMS low pressure setting. Do not drive. Well, maybe it's doing something now. Maybe I talked about it enough that I've coaxed it into doing something. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there's the answer. You can move your threshold up and down. So instead of just turning it off and on, you can adjust the threshold. So it just apparently takes forever to do so. All right, TPMS returned to stock. All right, well, I didn't want it stock. I wanted it to be programmed. Maybe this is a user error, I don't know, but that didn't go the way that I wanted it to. All right, so let's see what else we got in here. So TPMS off-road, running lights. You can set your running lights, and you can set the position of the running lights. Lane change, so that's where if you're going down the road, instead of holding the turn signal to signal that you're changing lanes, you can just tap it, and it will automatically flash your blinker 3 times. You can turn that on or off with this unit. There's your lamp delay feature, your accessory delay feature, your lamp flash. I guess that's when you lock the car or the Jeep. You can have the lights flash or not, and you can have the horn chirp or not. Ooh, here's a big one. This is one of the features that I absolutely hate if anybody associated with FCA or Jeep is watching this video, please get rid of this feature. I hate auto park. Let's see if we can turn that thing off. I'm gonna auto park updated. Good. I'm gonna test that out in a minute. I hate that feature when you're trying to just back up a few inches at a time to hook up a trailer, you know, or something like that, or just back the vehicle around the parking lot real quick. I mean, good Lord, who wants to get in and close the doors and put their belt on and all that stuff just to move a few inches at a time? That is so annoying. Off-road pages. That's interesting. Off-road pages. I guess that's for the cluster up in the dash, because last I heard, the off-road pages for your touchscreen was not available from FCA. So, and then you got park assist, which I don't have on this Jeep, but I guess if you had it, you could turn it on or off. And then you can turn all your parameters back to stock. So that's pretty much what you've got here. A lot of that stuff is pretty similar to what the Taser does. There are some differences between the two, and of course the method of doing this is a little bit different. So let's talk for just a moment. I'm gonna get out of the Jeep here and unplug this thing, and we'll take just a minute or two to talk about what the differences are between the two and kind of wrap this thing up. Okay, guys? Alright guys, so what it comes down to is, if you're not going to go to the dealership to get your JL Wrangler calibrated for your larger tires, and you decide you're going to buy one of these devices and do it at home, which one is the best one to get? Well, the answer to that isn't exactly cut and dry, because this one and this one do similar things, but they also do different things, and they do them in a slightly different way. So I think it's going to come down to personal preference, guys. I really do. Now, I've got a list here of things that the Taser can allegedly do that the FlashCal can't do, and some of those things are that it has what they call a rock crawl mode, which is exclusive to the Taser. You can hold 2 buttons on the steering wheel and it'll hold all the brakes for you. So if you're off-road crawling rocks and you want to use your hands to kind of help you navigate, you can do that. It's got a line lock feature. I don't know why you'd want to do a crazy burnout in your Jeep, but you can. It's got auto stop start disable, which means you can completely turn off the electronic start-stop system, which is a big deal for a lot of guys. I personally love that feature because I have seen how it's saving me gas, but some guys hate it. The Taser can turn that off. You've got 0 to 30 and 0 to 60 timers. If you're a guy that wants to go out and flog your Jeep and see how fast it is, you can disable the camera lockout. You can disable the feature that kills your navigation while you're in motion, so that you can enter addresses while the vehicle is moving with the Taser. You've got menu items in your radio. You can change the backup camera. You can keep the backup camera on permanently instead of the 15-second delay that it has from the factory. Gosh, you can turn off the halos if you have the LED lights. If you have the halogen lights and you put LED lights in your Jeep, you can enable those with this unit. You can disable or enable the front axle disconnect and the lockers if you've got a Rubicon through this unit. Okay, and that works a little different than the way it works stock. If you add the auxiliary switches on your dash, if you didn't get those from the factory and you add those, you can enable those with the Taser. If you add the blind spot detection, you know, the safety equipment that's optional on the Wrangler, if you add that later, you can enable it with the Taser. These are all things, guys, that the FlashCal does not claim that it can do. The one thing that I kind of noticed that the FlashCal says it can do, but the Taser cannot, is disable auto park. Now that's the ridiculously stupid feature that I hate, whereby if the door is not completely closed and you're not in the Jeep completely with your belt on and all that stuff, you can't drive the vehicle. It locks you out and takes you to park automatically. You can turn that off with the FlashCal and not with the Taser. However, I tried it on my JL, which is a sport model, and it did not work for me. I tried it 2 or 3 different times, and it said that it updated it on the programmer unit, but it did not work. Auto park would still engage if I had the door open, or if the door was not closed fully, it would still engage. So they claim that's a feature they can do that the Taser can't, but I couldn't get it to work. Also, the FlashCal will read diagnostic trouble codes and clear them, and the Taser, for some odd reason, can only clear them. It can't show you what they are, but it can clear them if you have them, which I don't understand. I don't know why that does anybody any good, but that's one difference also. And then finally, the one-touch lane change, which is where you can tap the turn signal and have it flash for you 3 times automatically. You can turn that on and off with the FlashCal unit. So at the end of the day, it's just personal preference. The FlashCal is currently, as of July of 2018, it's currently $80 cheaper or less expensive, however you want to phrase that, than the Taser. So that's a big deal. But the Taser can do a whole lot of things that the FlashCal can't do, and the Taser has those fancy light shows and things. If you're at a car show or whatever, you can make the lights dance around and do all that fancy stuff if you're into that kind of thing. So this unit can do more than this unit, but this unit's $80 more than that one. This one stays plugged in all the time if you want to have full access to the features. This one you plug in, you use a simple handheld, which is easy to use, and then you unplug it and leave it back in your house. This one is faster, in my experience, at going through the settings, making changes. It's a whole lot faster. This one is slower. You sit there for a long time waiting for it to do its update and to communicate and everything. And then finally, when I went to return this one back to stock, I unmarried it and returned the vehicle to stock. It was lightning quick, took 5 seconds. This one would not even do it. For some reason, it kept giving me an error that said RTC failed or something, vehicle not returned to stock. So I'm going to have to investigate that tonight and see why this will not let me go back to stock completely. So this one is slower and more finicky than the Taser JL. So there's some differences here. I mean, they're not exactly the same, but these are your options, guys, and I just wanted to show them to you. You know, basically it's just going to come down to user preference and which one you think that you would get the most use out of. If the auto park disable feature would have worked for me, I would love that, and I'd probably keep this one because I hate that one feature so much. I just hate it. But unfortunately, that did not work for me, and so I think I'm going to go with the Taser. I can't really see me keeping this one when this one does everything that I need and some, and it's faster and less finicky. So that's my personal preference, but some of you guys might like the fact that the FlashCal has a very easy to use interface with that handheld portion, and maybe, just maybe in the future, you'll be able to update it to do some real tuning on your engine and your transmission. We'll see if that's something that pans out or not. But that's pretty much where you stand, guys. $250, $330. Both of them can calibrate you for large tires. It's just that this one does a whole lot more, especially if you have a Rubicon. I think if you have a Rubicon, or if you have a fancy model with the LED lighting, that's when you can really get the most bang for the buck out of the Taser JL. But alright guys, I'm going to wrap this up. This video is long enough. I just wanted to show you your options for calibrating your speedometer and kind of give you a look at how they work and what's involved in using them. Hopefully this helps somebody to make a decision. Alright guys, if you have any questions, post them below. Please subscribe. We're trying to get to the point where we can afford to buy more things and show you more mods for the JL and the Mach 1. Alright guys, have fun. Enjoy the day.